Hi guys, my name is Hillary and I'm going to be giving a presentation over nutrition during pregnancy by Hillary Alvarado, myself. So, how a mother feeds her baby. A full-term pregnancy is 40 weeks, which is divided into 3 trimesters. A normal birth weight range for babies is 6.5 to 9 pounds. Of course, babies can be born before 40 weeks. 37 weeks or sooner is known as preterm or premature babies. These babies most of the time are very small and are considered low birth weight or have very low birth weight. This can be very dangerous because it increases their risk of being underdeveloped. Being an underdeveloped baby means that there's a potential that you may not make it past the first few weeks or first few moments of out of utero. From day 1 to about week 5, the embryo, which is right over here, will travel all the way down the fallopian tube into the uterus and burrow itself into the uterus. When the embryo starts breaking down the uterine lining, that is what nourishes the growing embryo. After week 5 to week 40, the placenta takes over. The placenta also grows with the embryo, and this is what helps with the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to the growing fetus. So what are some changes that happen and occur to a woman's body? So of course, the main thing is weight gain. Weight gain is about 25 to 35 pounds. This is all due to an increase in blood volume, body fat. The uterus enlarges, muscles and ligaments relax, and the breast enlarge for lactation. Geez, that's a lot. So imagine having all of your blood right now, multiplying that by half, adding that, of course you're going to have weight gain. But it's also important that this 25 to 35 pounds is not gained in the first month. So the typical weight gain rate would be in your first trimester, which is week 1 through 3, is about 2 to 4 pounds. From trimester 2 to trimester 3, it's recommended that you only gain about 1 pound a week. So there's also this factor of mom being underweight or overweight at the point of conception. So if the female is underweight at conception, she puts the risk of the baby being a low birth weight child and also being premature. This is only because if the mom is underweight, more than likely she's not going to gain that recommended 25 to 35 pounds, which is needed in order to help the fetus develop into a healthy baby. Overweight mothers have the health risk of high blood pressure, gestational diabetes, difficult delivery, which can then lead to a cesarean section. The cesarean section is not a typical delivery method that all women want to go through. They rather do the natural process. So what are some energy and macro needs that a growing fetus and a pregnant woman needs? So the energy levels really don't increase until your second trimester. At this point, that's when it's recommended that you have 340 to 425 calories increase per day. Your protein intake should increase to about 25 grams above the recommended daily allowance of 68 grams. Now the 68 grams is just a estimate or a range for females all over, but of course if you want to actually calculate your correct protein intake, it's 0.8 grams per every kilogram of weight, and then you add on 25 if you're pregnant. Your carbohydrates should increase to 175 grams per day, preferably through eating whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. Because if you consume these whole grains, fruits, and vegetables, then you're going to be consuming the recommended 3 grams per day of additional fiber, which will definitely help with constipation, which I'll mention later on in the presentation. Additional amounts of essential fatty acids and long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids are needed. There was no certain amount like grams or ounces that you should consume, but it's just recommended that you consume additional amounts of these two because it's needed for the growing fetus. Also, your water intake will increase from 2.7 liters to about 3 liters a day, just because you have more water weight, you have more intracellular water going on, because of course you have a growing fetus inside you. Some vitamins and minerals that are important to pregnant women are calcium, vitamin D, folate, vitamin B12, iron, and zinc. Calcium is met by consuming 3 to 4 servings of dairy products daily, whether it's through yogurt, milk, cheese products, anything like that, just as long as you meet that 3 to 4 servings per day. Vitamin D can be, of course, consumed with sun exposure, but for a woman that maybe has minimum sun exposure, it's needed 600 units. Folate is important, very important for DNA synthesis and cell division. This can be consumed before conception in order to have a healthy baby at the first trimester. It's about 400 units of synthetic folic acid from either fortified foods or supplements, or maybe a combination of both. But once you become pregnant, then it's recommended that you need about 600. Some more vitamins. Vitamin B12, you need about 2.6 per day by consuming animal products. That's preferred. Of course, you can also take a supplement, but it's best and easier for the body to digest and for the nutrients to be transferred to the growing fetus by consuming animal products. Iron is needed so much because you have that blood volume increase by 50%. You need this iron in order to synthesize hemoglobin and other iron-containing proteins for both mom and baby. You need about 27 milligrams per day, which is about 50% higher than a recommended daily allowance. It's important that you consume iron and zinc through red meat because, again, it's easier to digest and for the nutrients to be transferred by eating meats than by a supplement. So zinc, when I was talking about that, it's needed for the synthesis of DNA and RNA. You need about 13 milligrams per day if you're 18 years or younger and you're pregnant, or 11 milligrams per day if you're 19 or older. So food cravings, yes, food cravings is like huge for pregnant women. Some cravings are such as ice cream, candy, fruit, and fish. Aversions is something that you maybe don't know or correlate with pregnancy, but with all of these raging hormones and stuff, you have pregnant women that don't like the smell of coffee, the taste of highly seasoned food. They maybe like something more bland, and they really don't like fried food. Now this is just not for all women, but for some women. Now these cravings aren't harmful, but they can definitely be included into a pregnant woman's diet to meet both her nutritional and emotional needs, because those emotions are running really high. One important thing is pica, which is an abnormal craving for an ingestion of non-food substances that have little to no nutritional value. So yes, you have raging hormones and your emotions are high, and there's all of these changing things going on in the body with you and your baby growing, but sometimes these cravings aren't the best for you. If they're consumed in large amounts, then you're increasing your risk of toxins, lead poisoning, parasitic infections, intestinal obstructions, just because if you eat too much of something, it may start building up and won't be digestible. So when you're eating all of this, we're talking about food. What do I need to eat in order to be healthy and be healthy for my baby? Well, of course, you gotta factor in that physical activity. This physical activity will help with digestion, prevent excess weight gain, prevent low back pain, constipation, like I mentioned earlier, increasing that fiber intake, and also working out. 2 and 2 help you out a lot. Your risk of high blood pressure and diabetes, and most importantly, will speed up that recovery from childbirth. So your workout for 2. Well, what do? I wasn't physically active before. Now I want to be physically active so I can have a speedy recovery. Well, you're going to want that low intensity, low impact. Because if we hit this point where we go work out for 2 miles, you're going to hit a point where it's going to become very, very intense. this is going to limit the oxygen and nutrient delivery to the fetus, which is very, very risky. The fetus isn't going to be able to develop like it's supposed to if it doesn't have the oxygen and nutrients that it needs for those 40 weeks. Now, let's say that I was physically active before and I want to continue, but am I allowed to continue at the rate that I was? No. You only need to work out about 30 minutes per day, every day. Now, the exercises can be low to moderate. Of course, when you're late in your pregnancy, you're not going to be wanting to work out a whole lot. So doing a brisk walk for 30 minutes is very, very important. Now, these exercises help you to reduce that weight gain, to help you reduce all of your risk of health factors, of high blood pressure, and make sure that the fetus is growing perfectly. I hope you really, really enjoyed my video. If you have any comments, leave them. I want to thank you so much for watching this. See you later. Bye.